There's an entire group of people who remember rotary phones and the launch of the iPhone, and psychologists still aren't quite sure where to place them. If you were born between 1976 and 1985, you sit at the tail end of Generation X, but you're not fully a millennial either, even though people keep trying to push you into that box. Around 2014, researchers began calling this in-between group Xennials. Some sociologists even labeled it a microgeneration because the window is so specific. And what happened during that specific slice of history created something psychologically unique. From the beginning, your childhood was fully analog. Boredom wasn't a crisis. It was just something you endured. You memorized phone numbers. If you missed your favorite show, it was gone. No streaming, no replays, no second chances. Then suddenly, not gradually, the entire world went digital. And the timing of that shift matters more than people realize. Most generations grow up inside one technological reality. Xennials experienced two, during the exact years when identity is forming. Your late teens looked radically different from your 20s. In high school, you passed handwritten notes. Conversations vanished once they ended. You made plans without texting, "Where are you?" or "running late." You showed up and hoped your friends would be there. That required trust, commitment, presence. Then your 20s arrived and you knew. And so did cell phones. You made accounts on Friendster, then MySpace, then Facebook. Suddenly, instead of 3 ways to contact someone, home phone, work phone, or physically showing up, you had endless digital channels, and you adapted. Here's where it gets interesting neurologically. Research published in Nature Neuroscience shows that the prefrontal cortex, the brain region responsible for adaptation, planning, and learning complex systems, continues maturing into the mid-20s. That means Xennials were still in a high plasticity window when the technological landscape transformed. You were young enough that new technology felt intuitive, old enough to remember life before it. That creates a kind of cultural bilingualism. Gen X often approaches technology with skepticism because they were already adults when it exploded. Younger millennials don't remember life without it, but Xennials carry both memories simultaneously. You can sit through a face-to-face conversation without reflexively checking your phone. But you're not intimidated by new software either. You remember being unreachable, truly unreachable, for hours. And you also remember when constant reachability became the norm. That dual exposure shaped something subtle but powerful, your relationship with privacy. You grew up in a world where embarrassing moments faded. They weren't archived. That bad haircut, that awkward breakup, that reckless night. There's no permanent digital evidence, just stories that shift over time. Psychological research on autobiographical memory shows that memory is fluid. The brain edits, it reshapes, it keeps what matters and softens the rest. But when everything is documented and searchable, that natural editing process changes. Xennials experienced both realities. And then came the economic blow. Many of you entered the workforce during the financial crisis of 2007 to 2008. Right when you were supposed to be building careers and stability, the system cracked. Research on economic hardship consistently shows that financial instability during early adulthood leaves lasting psychological imprints. Even after circumstances improve, the nervous system remembers. That's why many Xennials carry a quiet, "what if it all collapses again?" in the background. So you've got this combination. Technologically adaptive, economically cautious, self-reliant, socially flexible. And no one really talks about that mix. Culturally, we frame generations as Gen X versus Millennials, as if everyone born between 1965 and 2000 had the same developmental environment. But when rapid change happens during identity formation, even a few years can create a completely different psychological imprint. Xennials grew up before helicopter parenting dominated. Your parents didn't always know where you were. You entertained yourself, you solved problems independently. But you also entered adulthood during the early internet, when technology still felt optimistic, when we thought it would connect everyone and solve everything. So you carry a paradox, independent yet collaborative, skeptical yet hopeful, analog yet digital. And maybe what defines Xennials most is your ability to hold contradictions without discomfort. You remember the before and the after. You appreciate modern convenience, but you also know what was lost. You lost true boredom. You lost deep waiting. You lost the effortless solitude that used to exist by default. But you gained access, connection, possibility. If you're a Xennial, you might feel like you don't fully belong anywhere, too young for some conversations, too old for others. That's not a flaw. It's the defining feature of your generational psychology. You were shaped by transition, and in a world that keeps changing faster than anyone can predict, people who have already lived through one massive shift may understand something the rest of us are still learning: how to adapt without losing yourself in the process. If this resonated with you, consider subscribing. And if you want to support deeper explorations like this, becoming a channel member genuinely helps. I'll see you in the next one.